Hello and welcome back to another episode of my fiber podcast where I talk about crochet and projects I'm currently working on and any other fiber related things. And actually it might even end up at some point being broader than fiber related, but for now that's where we're at. Today is July 24th. Yes, that's the date. It's a Saturday and it has been hot. And so I've just been doing a lot of hermiting inside while going to work now. We're officially finished with week 2 of physically going back to work. We've been working remotely since like March 17th, 2020. And so we just finished week 2 and I've been wearing a whole bunch of my handmade items. And so that has been a lot of fun, including this dress actually, which is, I shared it with my last video, but it is the Turn Tunic dress made by Haley Bailey. And I just love this color. I love wearing it. It's so comfy. It just makes me feel pretty and I love it. So I will wear it for many more months because I can. And I think once it gets cooler, like in the fall, I can throw some leggings on underneath this. I have like a kind of a mauve colored pair of leggings and I think that would work really well with this coral color. So I'm pretty excited to have quite a bit of use out of this garment. I'm definitely looking forward to continue wearing it. I probably already said that. I think I've worn it 3 or 4 times now already. 4 times at least. And I've finished it about a month ago. So yeah, I know I have room to wear it more often than that. So I will probably wear it every chance I can get. To start off today, we're going to talk about FOs because I have one. It was a secret project that I started in January of this year, but actually the yarn that I used to make it I started getting in January of last year, and that is because it was Montana Crochet's Montana Mineral Yarn Club that they did for 9 months, I believe. So I think it was January through September, or maybe January through October, but I want to say it's 9 months. So I got a mystery skein of yarn every month based on a mineral found in Montana. And with that yarn, I made the Tessellating Stained Glass Afghan by Sean Torres. A beautiful stained glass type blanket for my mom's birthday present. That was just, her birthday was this last Monday, so I was able to give it to her. I started the actual, like, physical making of it. I don't know why I made a knitting motion, it's crochet. But I started that in January, and then it was kind of my Sunday project the last 6 months. 6.5 months. And I think it turned out great. I don't have it with me obviously now, and I didn't want to show it on camera here just in case, but I will insert a photo of it here. And a couple things, like this pattern was quite a bit different than anything I'd ever done. The construction of it was super interesting. Like the first time I made the block, it took me, I think it took quite a few hours to fumble my way through it because it took me a minute to like wrap my brain around the way everything was going together because it's all these little sections that are connected by chains around a centerpiece. And so once I got the hang of it, I was doing like 2 blocks at a time. I came up with, there's 20 blocks in the size that I did, 20 of the main blocks I should say, and I did 5 color combinations, 4 blocks each. So for a while I was just doing 1 block at a time, but then I started working it two at a time, where I would just, I don't even know how to describe it, but I would start with one color, work that, then trim off what I needed to, start the second one, trim off what I needed to, join the second color, work that, trim, join to the second one with the second color, work that. And it actually, like, it doesn't make sense that it took me about the same time to do two as it did one, but it was so much more efficient once I started doing that. I wish I would have done it that way earlier. I think I was on like the third or fourth color configuration before I started doing that. And it just, I mean, if I'm doing 2 blocks at a time, I'm knocking that color combination out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, because I really only worked on it on Sundays. And so it worked up so quickly after that. And then another thing I wanted to comment on outside of like the construction part of it was the seaming technique that was used to put all of the blocks together. I'd never done it before, but it was really cool, and I think I want to try it again for other projects, like maybe my Traveling Seasons Afghan, which I have not worked on in a little while. But that could be a contender for that blanket because I thought it was a really clean look. And it was working through the back and seaming them together using like the back loop. Yeah, so you flip them so that you have the wrong sides facing you, and then you would just seam across. I didn't do the mattress technique, I just, you know, did go through and then just work in rounds. I don't know what that's called, but it's through the back loops in the back, and then you pull it together, and from the front, like, I'm kind of surprised it created such a stable looking stitch. Like, I kind of figured it would flop, you know, with it just being through the back loop, but it looked really nice, and it felt like I wasn't gonna pull it apart, but it felt like it was a really sturdy blanket. I mean, it ended up being heavy, even though it wasn't a huge, like, I think the photo made it look bigger than what mine turned out to be, even though I also used worsted weight yarn. And I did, like, I didn't make additional modifications to make it larger, I just did what the pattern called for, because I was kind of worried about having enough yarn. Like, it was a heavy blanket. Holding it up for photos, like, there's heft to it, and the fact that those seams held made me feel like I felt better about using a seaming technique that I hadn't used before. So it was nice to kind of learn something a little different there. And I realized that I also wanted to talk about the process a little bit, since I hadn't talked about this at all in any of the videos. The only place I had posted anything about it was Ravelry, and that was just a base photo of the block, like not even a complete block, and then I made notes for like the yarn that I was using for the different configurations. And that is that I bought this club every month. That Montana Crochet offered it. That was the year that yarn ended up having issues with being purchased, like bear yarn, because of COVID, and they had to cut the club short. So I was thinking I was gonna get a year. It cut off at 9 months, and at that I didn't have like a plan for what I was gonna make with it, but I knew that obviously whatever I picked I'd have to be able to have enough yarn for. So that was a little tricky to calculate, but I came across this stained glass blanket, and I thought that with the mineral theme of the yarn and like the geometric shapes of the blanket, that it would kind of was like evoking that like cut gem kind of look. So I thought it was a really nice tie-in between the pattern and the yarn theme. And I picked it because my mom, when she first moved to the US, Montana is the first place they lived. So that has a special meaning to her. And then also growing up, her and I would go to like rock and gem, or what are they called? Gem and mineral shows, and like look at all the pretty rocks. So that was something that her and I shared, and I thought it would make for a nice themed birthday present. So luckily it worked out. I only ran out of one color, amazingly. Like, I took kind of a poll when I was about halfway through. Not that I would have started over at that point, but just to kind of gauge if I had enough to do 4 blocks of each of the configurations that I had planned. And it looked like it was going to be okay, but then I ended up running out of the garnet color because it got picked to be like a bigger section of the blocks. And so I'm not surprised that I ran out, but I was able to come up with, see, I think I had run out and I had one more block to do, of course, with that color. And so one of them is a little bit different than all of the others because the border, not the border, but the last colored row is different than the other configurations, but that's okay. It worked out, and I think it, in fact, I was trying to pick it out and I wasn't looking super carefully, but I had a hard time seeing it with all of the different other colors going on. So I think unless you're like keeping a careful count of which blocks are which color patterns, everything rotates fairly evenly, and I'm really pleased with the distribution that I was able to work up with like laying out the blocks. So yeah, I think it turned out nice, and even though I ran out of some of the colors, mainly one, low on another, it worked out. So with that, I wanted to highlight a few of my favorites from the Montana Mineral Yarn Club. And that is, my absolute favorite was this like pinky coral color, because I can't get enough of this like salmon. This was my absolute favorite. I wish I would have had more left, but also I really wanted to use a lot of it. I will say the club, it had a lot of blues in it, and again, it's based off of Montana Minerals, so I'm sure that's just the nature of the minerals, but there were a lot of blues. 3 of the 9 colors were blues, and so trying to balance the coloring of each of the blocks without having it leaning too far with those blues was a little bit of a challenge, but I think it worked out. It's also why I ran out of the garnet color, because I really needed to bump up how much I used the non-blue colors in order to kind of like I let the blues kind of take a bit of a background. They're gorgeous. In fact, one of them is sitting right here that I'm going to show. But that was another challenge with this project. So all fun things with going in blind. But this is Montana Crochet, and the color is Rhodo Quartzite. So I wish I would have had more of this left over to do something with, but I'm sure I'll come up with some kind of scrap project to put all of these in, because I do have quite a bit, especially the blues. Another one I wanted to feature was Epidote. Oh my gosh. This green is just amazing. All of those tones in here, it is just, I don't even have words. I like green, but I wouldn't say it's a color that I pick very often to work with, but this is stunning. So another favorite from the collection. And then finally, this was my favorite of the blues, but the blues, they were beautiful, don't get me wrong. This was Yogo Sapphire. And the camera is, I think, making these colors a little more saturated than they are, but they are quite intense. They're not quite this bright from what I'm seeing on the camera, but they're gorgeous. So I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the leftovers yet, but I will find something. I can't remember how many grams. I have almost 2 full skeins of 2 of the blues, and then I think the yoga one was the one that I used the most of, and I still have. I mean, I think I have like at least half a ball left. And then the other colors have varying amounts, so there will be something, maybe a fun hat, like a colorwork hat, maybe. That could be cool. So that was a lot about one project, but again, because I hadn't really talked about it, I just kind of wanted to get my thought process out there and note some of the particular fun and challenging parts of that project. I had put a photo in, but if you're looking to see some more photos, I do have some detail shots. Actually, I'll probably throw those in here in this video too, but if I don't, they're all on my Ravelry page. And yeah, it was a fun project. I would recommend if you're looking into doing the stained glass kind of blanket technique. It's a fun pattern, and you can change the size pretty easily. Just add more blocks. Oh, so one thing I do want to, it's not an FO, I'm calling it an update, and that's because with returning to work and wearing some of my handmade garments to work, one of the things that I tested last year when I signed up for the test, I was like, this would be great to wear at work because I have to dress like business, professional kind of. I mean, it's not like suits, not suit status, but like dress pants and skirts and dresses and that kind of thing. But this sweet, let me make sure I get everything right, sweet pea skirt by Crochet Creations, yes, was a test that I did a year ago, anticipating that once it was time to return to work, this would be a really good garment to put into my wardrobe. And then I went to wear it this week and realized that I think I wanted to add a little more length. So update in the event, or update in regards to, this was a finished object and I just went in and added a little more to the bottom of the skirt. This was originally worked as a flat piece and then seamed to make the skirt. All sorts of cool things. I did elastic for the first time. I did a zipper for the first time. It is not by any means perfect, but I was pretty proud of how it turned out. But then it got seamed. So obviously I wasn't going to rip it out to that point, but it was a pretty easy pattern to adapt to working in the round from working flat. So I added 4 more rows of this like picot edging, is what she calls it in the pattern. So now it gets to about my knee. Before, it was very close to my knee in the front, but in the back, the butt part of my body lifts that skirt up a little bit more than I would like. It was about mid-thigh, so I added a little more here just to kind of give me a little more length. Just for my own personal preference. So I'm very excited. I think I'm going to wear this next week. I wasn't sure how this edging would look being longer because I really like the way it looked at the original length. But this ended up being so cute and ruffly with this extra length that both versions look super cute. So I'm very happy with that update in the pattern. Not pattern, update in my final version. The pattern does say you can make it as long as you want, and I chose to just do, for the test, what was originally called for. That brings us to our whips. So I guess I will start with the one that I usually start with. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. That is the Tidings to You wrap by Amy Gunderson. I'm not gonna lie, we're at a section that is a little frustrating, only because it's like it's a super lacy area that has a lot of like yarn over, knit 1, slip slip knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, and each row takes up like several inches. I'm not a chart reader. There is a chart, and that's something I do want to learn eventually, but because when my mom and I work together, I'm reading the pattern out loud, so she's listening to it versus reading it. So I'm reading it to keep track of where we're at. And so it's easier for me to read the pattern versus then reading the chart, because I still need more practice with that. But I'm having a really hard time keeping track, even with the app I'm using that has like a highlighter to show what row I'm on, keeping track of the repeats and everything in each row. And it's just, of course, it's a bigger section too, so it's going to take a while. In fact, we're making super slow progress, but it is a really beautiful pattern. Like this lace is, it's like, almost kind of reminds me of like butterfly wings in a way, but it's like this little like chunks of solid with stripes of lace, and it's very pretty. It's just making me a little frustrated trying to keep track, but I also really love this yellow. It's a very pretty color, and we keep joking with the fact that if we're lucky at this point, because I don't think we're halfway done and we're over halfway done with the year, we might be done by Christmas for the next craft event. This is the Jimmy Beans Advent project from 2020. So, I mean, we're getting there. Well, that almost matched my dress. That's what we're at so far. But I'm pretty sure we're not halfway done. I can't remember how many sections there are. So, that is doing its thing. It's moving along at its own pace. Next, I wanted to show my summer crochet top by Brianna K Designs. I will definitely not, like, there's no way I'll have enough yarn. I'm not sure what happened, but I just won't have enough yarn to make this project, and I'm really hoping it's not discontinued. But I'm working on it and using up what I can. I do have the front panel finished, so this is the really cute lacy top part of the tank. And then, you know, when I block it, I'm gonna probably aggressively block it so that, like, it's supposed to be super open. Like, it's just this beautiful mesh. This is the reason I wanted to make this tank right here, because of this gorgeous mesh. And then you have the moss stitch, and then ribbing down here is added at the end. I did have to go up a hook size for the ribbing because it was just like, in fact, you can still see it cinching it in, but when I was using the same hook as the rest of it, it was just like super tight. I will probably also, depending on what it looks like after it's wet, either will aggressively block or at least try to kind of get some stretch in there, because it is very tight ribbing. But front panel's done. I do have a start on the second panel, just a little bit. Fun fact, I had quite a noticeable difference in the width of my front panel, or whatever panel this ends up being. Panel A and panel B, stitching the same amount of stitches, so I had to rework a little bit, but like I had to tear this apart a couple times to try and get it a little bit closer, but it's still a little bit different than the first one. So once it's seamed, I think it'll be okay. But yeah, that's always fun, knowing that I'm very inconsistent with how I work up things. So that is on its way. I suspect this is what I have left of the third ball, but it took over 2 balls to do the first panel. and my size called for 4 panels. And even then, I chained the amount of chains for the sides below that because my measurement ended up being too big. So I don't know why I don't have enough yarn, but I don't have enough yarn. That is that. Right now it's sold out. It's Furls Whims Merino, and it's a beautiful yarn. It's gorgeous to work with, but it's sold out, and I feel like it's been sold out for a while. So I'm hoping they're not just phasing out the color. We'll see. Lastly, for whips, I don't have it here because it is a big mess, so I'll have to insert a photo, and I'm sorry that it's not going to be a very good photo because it is nowhere near natural daylight. But that is my Superstitious Pullover by Michael Shawn. And the reason I can't move it is because I'm in the colorwork section of the witches, and because I'm doing all 3 witches and not just one, I can't remember what the math worked out, but there's 18 witches around the yoke for my size, and each witch requires 3 colors plus the main that's going around. And because I didn't want to be carrying all of that yarn over, I basically have little balls of yarn attached to each individual witch. So it is a mess and probably unconventional, but it's my method, it's what I'm doing, and it's just what feels the most right to me in the way I do color work. So that is the the process that I'm attempting, but it makes it very hard to move. So it's been in the same spot on the couch since I started the witches a couple weeks ago, and it will not move until I at least get that part done, because all of the other color work after it is just gonna be the main color and a contrasting color. So that will be much easier to tote around. So next time I should be able to actually physically hold it up and show you everything, but right now it's not moving. So it's gonna be fun untangling all of that yarn, but so far I seem to have enough. I was really worried about like the size that I ended up choosing happened to be, I didn't notice that the pack of yarn I ordered wasn't good for all sizes, just for like half of the sizes, and I would have needed 2 packs if I would have picked the Positive Ease size versus the, I think it's going to be a -1 inch ease size. But because I picked that down a size, I was like scraping by just barely in the yardage that it called for that pack of the witch colors. So I was very concerned about rationing yarn. But now it looks like I'll probably have, at least with the orange, I'm only done with 1 color so far, and I have quite a bit of that left over. So it kind of makes me wish I would have done a couple things different. But that's what it is to, you know, work through a project and learn all of the fun things as you go along with learning a new skill. So I'm really happy with how it's turning out as of now, I should say. Who knows what it'll do later on. But I think this will definitely be the most challenging part of this sweater, and I'm on row 12 of 16 of the witches, so I'm almost done with the witches. And once I'm done with that, the rest of it should be easier. Not that it's been hard, it's just I hope my witches are kind of bunching up a little bit, even though I feel like I've been giving quite a bit of room for the floats. So I'm hoping it's just, I think blocking will help. At least I'm hoping. I'll be using pins to probably like pull apart the witches once it's wet. I hope. I wonder if I should do like a halfway block. Like I've seen some people block their yolks partway through. I don't know if that would be weird. But I don't, like, it'd be nice to block that part while I can do a round yoke and block that flat, versus once I start seaming everything and working like the body part, I can't just like open that up flat, and so then I'd have a front and back and I couldn't pin both at the same time. So maybe I'll have to look at doing that, because I think it'd be good if I could get those witches set somewhat. Anyway, clearly I have more things to plan out with that, but so far I think the witches are looking really good for it being my first knit color work. And I'm just excited. Someone posted yesterday that it's 100 days till Halloween. I'm so excited to have this finished so I can wear it all the time. And yeah, I love it. I'm very pleased with how it's looking so far. So with that, I mentioned on my Instagram page that I would save sharing my haul from a fiber festival that I attended for my podcast here. So we're going to go into the mail portion of the episode where I share. I went to my first fiber festival, and it's one that's actually only like 15 miles away. This was their third year doing it, so it's fairly new, but it's a local alpaca farm called Grazing Hills. Let me make sure. Grazing Hills Ranch. So they have, it's an alpaca farm, but I think they also have like sheep and things too, because they were doing shearing demonstrations, and so they were shearing an alpaca, and they also, I'm pretty sure they sheared a sheep too as I was leaving. But it was so much fun. I really had a good time going to it. I hit it early in the morning before it got too busy, like right when it opened up, and it was fun just chatting with some of the vendors. And they had alpacas out that you could feed and pet. I didn't do that though. Again, I watched them shearing an alpaca, which was very soothing to watch. Just the way the fiber like comes off in blankets. And wanted to share some of the fun things that I got. So first I'll start with what I got from the actual farm itself. And I will say that if you're in the area of Viola, Idaho, they will have, I have a sheet here, Alpaca Farm Day on September 25th. And I might have to go check it out. Farm animals, demonstrations, scavenger hunt, face painting, food truck, craft vendors. So that sounds cute too. They were plugging that at the Fiber Festival. But this is their little, I think this is their ranch logo. Okay, come on. You can do it. There we go. Look at how cute that is. I'm guessing this means they have more animals actually than what I saw, because that looks like a ram? I don't know. And then obviously a rabbit. What is that? It looks ram-like. I don't know. Maybe it's a different type of sheep, like a breed of sheep. Anyway, cute little button that I couldn't resist getting. And then they actually have a shop on the farm where they sell fiber and other kind of like alpaca-themed merchandise. Like, it was super cute. There were like alpaca mugs and necklaces and little stuffed alpacas, and then of course they had fiber, which comes from the animals on their farm. So I got 2 skeins By the way, when they were shearing the alpaca, I had never felt like, it must be the underside of it. I don't even know if I've ever petted an alpaca, actually. Maybe. But it felt softer than what I imagined it would feel. Like they were passing just a raw, unprocessed piece of the fiber, and it was so soft. So I went to their shop and bought, it is 200 yards of each skein of 2-ply sport, and this little set of yarn came from Penelope. It tells you the alpaca it came from, and that's just so cute. So I got 2 skeins from the same alpaca in this really pretty brown, and I thought it would be fun to make like mittens or something. I've never knit mittens before, but I'm always losing my gloves when it comes time to dress for cooler weather, and so I figured, well, why not try making my own? So I really like this color. They had it was all undyed. I think they had like a cream and a black and then this brown, and those were the colors they had in their shop. But super pretty, super soft. Yeah, like I felt like I just had to embrace the fact that I was at a farm that sold, they must have had some of their sheep, like their wool there too, for sale, but like I had just done the shearing demonstration with the alpaca and felt like I needed to extend that experience into buying some fiber. So that was from the actual farm itself, and then they had a bunch of different vendors there. They had booths set up and they were selling like hand-dyed roving yarn, notion bags, spinning things, all sorts of fiber themed things, progress keepers. And so I found this booth. The shop is Desert Panda Fiber Arts, and they came from Nevada, I think, or Arizona, one of those hot places. But they came quite a ways to go to this fiber festival, and they had this purple booth, so it was very eye-catching. And I got, I love Halloween colors, purple, bright green, orange, black. And I saw this one first. This one's called Embers. And it was just so eye-catching. I mean, the burnt oranges and the creams and the grays and the black speckling, it was gorgeous. And so this was the first thing I saw. But then I saw this zebra called Nightshade. Don't those look so pretty together? I have no idea what I'm gonna make, but they're both fingering. Actually, they're both sock yarn, so I guess I could technically make socks, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna do something Halloween themed, probably some kind of shawl, I don't know, but it's so pretty. And I thought, like, I haven't worked up zebra before. I have one other skein of zebra that's actually also Halloween colored, so I wonder if I could maybe do a 3 skein something or other. But it's very pretty. I don't know. Part of me is like, it's kind of weird, but part of me is also looking at the skein. Like, that was another eye-catching skein in their booth, was the beautiful textured purple. So those were the 2 yarns that I got from them. But then they had someone in there spinning, and I have not spun fiber before. I kind of figured with my yarn obsession that would be another step that I would take at some point. Like, I've tried dyeing yarn, and I have yarn to like dye, bare yarn, and spinning fiber just seemed like the next logical step to creating my own yarn, because I can't get enough of it. So I was just mesmerized watching her with her drop spindle spinning the yarn, or spinning the fiber into yarn. And then I look up, and next to my face, as I was purchasing my yarn, like I was set to go, and I see this roving called Peacock. It looks like it's 4 ounces. And I was like, this is gonna be how I get into spinning fiber. Look at that gold. Oh gosh. I just wanna like stare at this all the time. So obviously this isn't gonna be the first thing I spin, but you best believe that I bought a drop spindle. I bought this a drop spindle because I think doing the drop spindle, like not just to try it out to see if it's something that I would enjoy doing, but I feel like I would rather drop spindle than using a spinning wheel anyway, because I think the process would be much more satisfying. So that, look at that cute logo, BT Dubs. It's so cute. Anyway, yeah, I'm obsessed. It also feels really soft. And like the only roving that I'd ever worked with before was the stuff that you use for needle felting, which is much more coarse. So I have bare wool on the way that was recommended as like a good beginner because it wasn't very expensive and you got a lot. And then I figure I can dye it because I have the dyes. And it got delayed, so unfortunately I won't be able to start practicing yet. But I do have it on its way, and I'm very excited to try it out. Watched a bunch of videos. I'm the proud owner of a drop spindle. This is from Calico Farms Fiber Art, and I just got the top whirl. Oh, come on. No! Why are you being such a pain today, phone? Oh my gosh. Still not super into focus, but top whirl. This is like resin that has like alcohol ink that was dropped into it. There we go, that's a little better. So you have that fun effect. And then, you know, you do your drop spindle thing. So I have that for whenever my fiber arrives. And I'm very excited to try it out. Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun. Because I needed more things to take up my time. But that's okay. So that was everything I got from those two vendors. Oh no, just kidding, sorry. Fiber related things, but also while I was at the Desert Panda Fiber Arts booth, they had super cute Halloween. Oh, jeez, why? Why are you not focusing today? This is from Charmed and Dangerous. They're a shop based in Texas. And look at that super cute pumpkin fairy door stitch marker. Has like little stones and obviously the little vines and things and the pumpkin. It was cute. So I haven't looked them up on social media yet, but it looks like they do polymer clay charms, and they had all sorts of different ones there at the booth. So that is my fiber haul, or my fiber related haul from the festival. And again, it was a lot of fun. This farm is open just, I think, regularly to the public, and so I think I want to go on a non-event day and just, I don't know, maybe go visit the shop again, see the alpacas. They were having babies that were I don't think they were born at the festival itself, but that week their animals were just starting to have babies, so you know, they have little baby alpacas running around, and so cute. I have one more item to share and then I'll be wrapping it up, and that is this stitch marker set that I got from, the maker is DK Graham, but they partnered with 5 Burrow Yarns. They had a Craft Vengers set, so it was yarn and stitch markers. And the yarn for this set, like, I told myself I wasn't gonna buy any, even though I really wanted to. The yarn was amazing. It was all based on, I think Marvel specifically, because Avengers. I don't think they were just doing like superheroes in general from the different universes. It was specifically Avengers. But they were all like, well, the stitch markers were all kind of like not puns, that's not the right word, but like craft tie-ins to the superheroes, and then the yarn was just beautiful. Like, I don't even have words to describe the amazing things that the dyer did with the yarn based on each superhero they were dyeing the yarn based off of. And I think they're bringing back the collection, so I would definitely check out 5 Burrow Yarns to learn more about that. Also, they just have really cool collections. I think I just found them a couple months ago, if that, very recently. And looking back at some of the past collections, like they did a Lisa Frank one. I can't remember what other ones now off the top of my head, but some super fun themes and gorgeous yarns. So I did get the stitch marker set because I had also just recently found a DK Graham, and the tie-ins between yarn and the themes that they do for their things, super cool. So let me see if I can find one that I can so like, this is Ant-Man. Oh, of course it's not gonna focus. Ant-Man, the little ant carrying a ball of, oh no, sorry. Carrying a ball of yarn. And then, pretty sure this is Black Panther. It's his fist enclosed around a ball of yarn. Doctor Strange, his cloak around a skein. Oh, Scarlet Witch. So just all sorts of fun. I mean, this is a whole set of, let's see, 2, 4, 6, I just found 4, 8, 10, did I count that right? 2, 6, 8, 10, 11 stitch markers? Nope, there's one in the back here. 12. 12 stitch markers, all themed around different Avengers, and they're all wood, all engraved designs. And I think they were also selling like t-shirts and ocean bags with the symbols on them. I thought the symbols were so creative and fun. Like, this whole collaboration between the two of them was spot on, so lots of fun. So if you're like a nerd and a fiber enthusiast, these collections are for you. So I could get in trouble real quick. Like, just so much fun looking through all of the different designs that they do and the yarns that are dyed. Like, I know they're also going to expand, at least in the yarn, the different superheroes that they're doing. Again, I can't remember if they're going to expand to other universes or just stick with like Marvel, but I know they were doing polls trying to get a gauge on what people wanted to see. So that's another thing. I think they're bringing back the yarn that they dyed for the first round and then also doing other characters later on. So definitely something to check out. And with that, I'm done. There's a lot of word vomiting today, but I will not keep you too much longer. just to say that I hope everything's going well, and thanks for sticking around. If there's something specific that you'd like to see or hear me talk about, let me know in the comments. I'm a little slow to respond to things, but I do see them and I do respond eventually. Hopefully. I mean, I will, but sometimes comments get like lost in things, so I'm not ignoring them on purpose, I promise. I'm just a little slower to go through everything. So, talk to you all later. Have a great day whenever you end up watching this. I know I am looking forward to having a nice weekend of just nothing. So, see you later.